Hello and welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tashiana, but you can call me Tashi because that's what all my friends do. And we're friends now. I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband Joshua and the two hell kittens, actual cats, not humans, Minerva and Astoria. And this is my corner of the internet where we talk about all the things that I am knitting and spinning and sewing and potentially weaving. It is just fiber joy and wool chaos all the time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on the thumbnail. There are a million voices vying for your attention on the internet, and you saw whatever this is and decided to give it a go, and that makes you a rad human. If you're a returning viewer, you already know what time it is. Welcome back to the channel. We are, I think this will be day 10. So we are approaching the halfway point of Vlogmas. I am still in disbelief that I have gotten a video up every day. And honestly, que sera, sera at this point. But I hope you're enjoying the alternating vlogs with the sit and spin videos. They've been a lot of fun to make. I'm really enjoying like sharing little bits of my life with you. And then reading all the comments. The comments have been a real joy. There are a few people who comment on not that I'm inviting you to comment on every single video, but also if you want to comment on every single video, I read all the comments. But there are a few people who've been commenting on every single video, and it's been bringing me the most joy to see their like usernames pop up all the time. So thank you so much for receiving this Vlogmas situation so well. I was a little bit anxious about how it was gonna go. I mean, I figured the sit and spin style videos would be okay, but I didn't know how the vlogs were gonna go. I was like, I'm probably gonna annoy people with how exuberant and annoying I am all the time. But they've been going really well. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for leaving me all the positive feedback and for leaving me the hearts and all that other stuff. It's been really, really fun. Today, so when I did ask for questions, one of the questions I got was what I wish I knew when I started spinning, and I've been noodling on it for the past week, and I made a list of 10 things I wish I knew when I started spinning, and I actually took notes this time because I was just like, I'm gonna start talking and forget everything I wanted to say, and it's just gonna be nonsense. So I did make a list of 10 things I wish I knew when I started spinning, and that's what we're gonna talk about today. We're going to talk about Chibi Tashi at the start of her spinning adventure and all the things that I wish Chibi Tashi knew. And not just at the start of her spinning adventure, over the last 2 years that I've been doing this, things have come up. And I wish I knew those things before they came up so I could have made better choices. So, we're spinning a new breed today. Today's day 5 of my advent calendar. If you're new here, this is the winter box dyed by Rose of Akara Yarns. And these do not come labeled. So what I've been doing is I've been opening them and then messaging Rose and asking Rose what I've been spinning. And then putting the title somewhere over here. So the present stance. Cha-cha-cha, 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 ha-ha. Day 5. Enough of the nonsense. Let's see what Rose has cooked up for us today. So we shall see. I will say I have yet to migrate days 3 and 4 onto their individual weaving bobbins. I will do that at some point, but I just have been very busy over the last few days, and my wheel has kind of just sat in the living room because I haven't needed it. So it's just kind of sitting out here. I will migrate eventually 3, 4, and 5 to individual weaving bobbins, but we shall see what day. Oh wow. Okay, this is interesting. It's another day that has a fair bit of white. I'm gonna open it up. It's another day that has a fair bit of white. So maybe I should put something really punchy between, I mean, I could get another bobbin, but I don't want to. So maybe I'll just put something punchy between 4 and 5 so that they don't get like lost in the shuffle. But here is day 5. It is another day that has a lot of white. And then it has some blue and almost like a garnet red shade. Here's what it looks like. Honestly, it's giving me very much American flag vibes. That was my initial response when I opened it, was that they're strong American flag vibes with this one. It feels pretty fine. I mean, it doesn't feel fine. It feels pretty medium. I don't know what this is. This is interesting. It's also like, it doesn't want to hold together the way, like, you see how the top is just kind of drifting apart? Like, I've never really seen that happen. I don't know what this is. This is going to be interesting to spin also because the fiber, the top does not want to, like, it just wants to like feather out. I'm really interested to see what this is. I mean, I would wear this next to skin. It's not bothering me around my neck at all. Let's start spinning it. Let's get to work. Let's start spinning it. Okay, I went ahead and, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting spinning. This is actually pretty short stapled, and I cannot draft back as far as I would like, so I need a second to figure this out. Okay, I'm actually having a little bit of difficulty spinning this. It wants to slub, and if you don't know what a slub is when you get like a big chunk of fiber out. It wants to slub, which is interesting. Sorry, you're hearing my my thoughts out loud. And also it's so short stapled that I'm having issues figuring out the distance of draft, so I don't get the slubs. And if you don't know what distance of draft is, it's how far you can pull out. It's based on the staple length, so it's like how far your hands can be before you get a slub or pull out a staple. I'm really interested in what this is, because this spinning experience is really throwing me for a loop. I might actually have to switch to short forward for this if I can't get this together. Okay, I've been spinning this for about 6 minutes now, and I still don't think I have a better handle on it now than I did when I started. But we're gonna see what happens. Okay, so things that I wish I knew when I started spinning. You might notice that I have taped my notes to the TV. So the first thing I wish I knew when I started spinning was you do not want to make art yarn. And by you, I mean Tazhi. Like, Tazhi, you do not want to make art yarn. I repeat, you do not want to make art yarn. And the reason I wish that's something I knew when I started spinning was because the wheel that I bought. So if you don't know anything about me, I highly recommend. I mean, the early podcast days were not great, but I do talk all about my foray into spinning and what got me here in one of the first episodes. So I would just go back and watch that again, because that is a lot to reiterate at this stage in the game. But I bought my first wheel because it was a wheel designed for spinning art yarn. And thankfully, I was able to spin all sorts of yarns on it. But that's literally why I bought that wheel, was because I had every intention of spinning art yarn. And then future Tazhi realized that I didn't want to spin art yarn. Would I have bought a different wheel in the beginning? 100%. The Spinolution Bullfrog is a great wheel to learn on, but there are a number of things that I would have done differently if I had known in the beginning. I mean, I like that it came with the 16 ounce flyer. That's how big the flyer is. I very much enjoy that it came with the 16 ounce flyer. I loved those big 8 ounce bobbins, but I would have bought a different wheel. I probably would have bought a Lendrum double treadle straight out the gate, which is the wheel that I'm spinning now. I don't know if that I would have bought a matchless or something, but the Bullfrog I bought new, and it's not the cheapest wheel, and I think I would have bought something differently if I had known in the beginning that I did not want to spin art yarn, which is what I bought that wheel to make. I was, following a bunch of weaving accounts, and they were doing all that fun stuff with core spinning and baubles and all that other stuff, and I thought that's what I wanted to make, and I realized as soon as I got the wheel that also all I wanted to make was yarns that I could knit with. I was not interested in making weaving yarns. And so that's probably the first thing that I wish that I knew, was that I didn't want to make art yarn. I didn't want to use art yarn. I bought art yarn from people who were really good at it, and ended up rehoming it because I didn't even want to use it. I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know what purpose it served. And I'm not saying that it doesn't serve any purpose. There's people who are doing really cool things with art yarn. It's just, not for me. So that's the first thing that I wish I knew. Okay, thing 2 that I wish I knew. Everyone sucks in the beginning. It's the thing that I tell all new spinners now. Everyone sucks. The people don't pick up a spinning wheel or a drop spindle or anything and immediately know how to make the yarn that you're drooling over on Instagram. Everyone sucks, and everyone has to learn, and it's okay to take your time. Now, not everyone's learning curve is a little bit different, right? Sometimes I watch new spinners pick up a drop spindle, and in 3 weeks, they're making, reliable, consistent yarn. And sometimes I see spinners pick up a drop spindle, and it takes them months. And there's nothing wrong with embracing your own journey and taking your time. But what I wish someone had told me in the beginning was everyone sucks, because I got really frustrated with myself multiple times early on in my spinning journey, because I thought I wasn't getting, I just didn't get it. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Why is everything I'm making so terrible? Who am I not watching? What am I not learning from? And what I really wish someone told me was just no. You have to embrace the suck. You're a beginner. You have to allow yourself to be a beginner. And once you figure things out, things will be okay. But you have to give yourself time to figure things out. And also, please don't be mean to yourself while you're figuring things out. So that is the second thing I wish someone had told me, or I wish that I knew. That everyone, and it feels like a no-brainer, right? But I feel like sometimes we just expect ourselves to be good at things straight out the gate. And spinning is one of those things that you kind of have to give it its time. It's not like knitting or sewing, where I feel like because spinning, I feel like it's a much more hands-on craft than those other things. And I think like sewing, when a machine is doing most of the work for you, or knitting when it's just a repetitive stitch over and over, I feel like it's easier to learn the fundamentals of, versus spinning, which can be a full body craft. I mean, if you're using a wheel, you're treadling, you're drafting, you're doing all these things, you're trying to control the twist of your fiber, you're trying not to make rope, you're trying to do all these other things. And it's hard in the beginning. It is very, very hard. And that is what I wish someone told me. Thing 3. Sample your breeds and learn what fiber types you love before going all in. Do not buy everything online because it's pretty colors. You're going to end up with a bunch of stuff you don't want to spin because you've learned a few things after some time, and now you have all this fiber that you don't want to spin, and you either you're doing the thing right now, which is what I'm doing, which is rehoming a lot of it and just giving it away to friends. In the beginning, I just bought things based on the color. I was like, oh, that's a fun color. I wish that I had given myself room and time to buy one thing. Like, let me try one braid of Rambouillet, let me try one braid of Merino, let me try one braid of Corriedale, instead of just buying things because they were fun colors. Because I realized very early on, well, I joke that Rambouillet is my nemesis. I can spin Rambouillet, but in terms of all the fine wools, if I had to choose between Merino, Rambouillet, and Targhee, I would spin Targhee over the three of them, and over the other two. And I have so much Merino and so much Rambouillet, because they were really pretty colors and I was really attracted to them. And it's not that I won't spin it, it's just that when I pick up my top, when I go to like my top cabinet and I want to spin something for a fun, I tend to reach for Targhee or Corriedale or even Polworth before I reach for my Merino or my Rambouillet braids, and they're just kind of sitting there collecting dust. And I wish I had realized, like, I wish I had just bought like 2 of each and tried things before I committed. So yeah, give yourself time to sample. Buy smaller quantities of things. You don't need to buy 7 braids of Rambouillet before you even spin one of them and realize that Rambouillet might not be your jam. Thing 4. Every fiber club is not created equal, and it is okay to quit them if it's not sparking joy. There are so many fiber clubs out there. And everyone has their favorites, and I was a member of a lot of them for a really long time, and once I realized I didn't like it, I did not quit them because I just kept going. I don't want to tell, like, I was just like, here's my thought process. These are all small businesses, and I don't know if they see every order that comes in, but I was like, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings, and I don't know if they're gonna think that their dye job was just not good enough for me or whatever. Like, I told myself all of these stories that I'm sure maybe some of them are true, but also most of them are probably not true. And I stayed a member of fiber clubs that I did not enjoy for a very long time when I should have just quit them right away. At this present moment, the only fiber club that I'm a part of is the Hello Yarn Fiber Club, and I will be a part of that one forever. Even though I'm not buying top, I will be a part of the Hello Yarn Fiber Club forever because what Adrienne dyes just speaks to my heart. Everything she comes up with. I've been a member of her fiber club for over a year now, and I think I've only gotten one braid of top that I was just like, meh, could do without. Everything else she dyes, as soon as I open it, I'm like, yeah, I need to get that on my wheel right away. Adrienne is a whiz with color, but also Adrienne dyes in a very like grungy color palette that I really enjoy. It is very much not pastel, and even when she does pastel, she throws in like a brown or like a muddy blue or something to tone down the like joyous pastel energy that some dyers really enjoy. And so I will be a member of Adrienne's Fiber Club forever, but all fiber clubs are not created equal, and you don't need to join all of them. Also, you should just look at pictures of what the fiber clubs look like, because most of these fiber clubs have active Ravelry groups, if you can use Ravelry, and you can see what past colorways have looked like before you commit to joining a fiber club and then just go, oh, I'm disappointed months and months in a row. So that is thing 4. Thing 5, your hands remember and your heart remember even after taking a break. For a really long time, I used to beat myself up for not spinning every day. I was like, I'm not gonna get any better if I'm not spinning every day. And that's one of the things that people like encourage new spinners to do. It's like, you should be spinning 15 minutes every day. You should be spinning 15 minutes every day. And that is a wonderful idea in a vacuum, but it doesn't always work out. And for a really long time, I would be mean to myself if I wasn't getting my 15 minutes in every day. I was like, I'm not gonna get any better. My spinning's gonna be terrible forever. And I would like stay up super late or get up super early to get that practice in. And I was making myself a little bit crazy. And I had to take breaks. And the thing that I wish people would tell you is, even after you take a break, this is all muscle memory, and you don't lose all that progress you've made overnight. You don't even lose all that progress you've made after a week. You won't even lose all that progress you've made after a month. Maybe you might be a little bit rusty, but this is one of those things, like people say, it's like riding a bike. Once you pick it back up, your hands remember and your heart remembers, and you can pick it back up and just keep making progress. So if you've been neglecting your spinning practice for a little bit, there's no reason to be mean to yourself about it, because your hands remember and your heart remembers. And I do very little spinning during the summer. During the summer, I do a lot of sewing. I'm living my best fantasy wardrobe life. I might do some fiber prep, but spinning for me is a very like cozy, cold weather craft, and I do very little spinning during the summer. And so I pick it back up once it cools down, and I just get right back to it. And you should make spinning work for your schedule, because if you need a break, your hands remember and your heart remembers, and there's no reason to be mean to yourself about it. Thing number 6. I feel like people probably heard this one before, but bargain fleeces aren't always bargains. Sometimes you get a bargain and they are real gems. And sometimes you get a bargain and they're a bargain for a reason. And if you are not prepared to deal with all the ramifications of the bargain fleece, sometimes a bargain fleece is not a bargain. And when I say that is, sometimes the bargain fleece is really, really dirty and it's really hard to scour. Sometimes the bargain fleece is full of VM and would require a ton of work. Sometimes the bargain fleece is full of second cuts and in like staple lengths that are all over the place. Sometimes it's shorn by someone who's not a professional shearer. Sometimes it's raised by a farmer who don't raise their sheep for wool. Again, sometimes a bargain is really, really I've gotten some very lucky bargain fleeces, but I know now what questions to ask so I can assess whether the bargain is a bargain or whether the bargain is a Trojan horse. So if you are new to buying fleece, sometimes the bargain fleece isn't the way to go, and sometimes it's worth it, if you can, to spend a few extra dollars per pound to make sure you're getting a fleece that is raised by a shepherd who knows how to raise sheep for wool, and is shorn by a shearer who knows how to shear for hand spinners. That is all I'm going to say about that. But that is definitely something I wish past Tazhi knew, because past Tazhi threw away a lot of bargain fleeces and also spent way too much time working on fleeces that were just not worth the labor and the effort that I put into it for the yarn that I was getting out of it. So yes, that is something that I wish I knew at the start of my spinning journey. Well, not necessarily at the start of my spinning journey, but at the start of my fleece processing journey. So that's why I said we were going to be covering the gamut of this adventure. Not just like learning to spin, but pretty much everything over the last 2 years. Thing 7, the dragon urge to collect and hoard is very loud with you. Tell it to be quiet sometimes. I feel like us as crafters, there's something about this whole delightful thing that we do that literally turns us all into dragons, where we have to hoard all the things and we must acquire all of the tools and acquire all of the supplies. And sometimes you just don't need it. I am a tool junkie. I also like having stuff, and I have a fair amount of it, and a lot of it is unnecessary. I mean, my fiber stash at a whole is just unnecessary. I've stopped counting how many braids of top I have because it makes me feel bad sometimes, so I don't count. But every now and then, sometimes that dragon urge to hoard, you know, picks its head up and starts telling you bad things. And sometimes you just need to tell that voice to be quiet for a little bit. And that's what I mean is, like, if you have, how do I say this? When I first started buying support spindles, I went from 1 spindle to like 30 spindles so fast in a way that it didn't even make sense. And I did not know much about support spindles when I was acquiring them. And now I have spindles that I don't love, and I wish I had waited and spoken to more people about spindles and read some more reviews and waited for the makers that I really wanted spindles from to have spindles in stock instead of just getting spindles from other makers because I couldn't get the spindles that I wanted. So sometimes it's better to wait for the thing that you really want instead of just getting all the other stuff because you can't have the thing that you really want, because then eventually you end up with stuff that you don't want, and you've already spent money and time and energy on it. Tell that dragon urge to hoard all the things and acquire all the pretty braids to go away for a little bit. Maybe spin down your stash. I know a lot of people are doing a 100-day stash down with Jillian Moreno. It's kind of important to have. Rachel at Wool and Spinning talks about having a living, breathing stash where you know where everything is and you go into your stash every now and then and you pull out from deep stash. And I'm not saying don't have a stash. We all have a stash. What I'm saying is you should have a living, breathing stash. And if you have things coming in faster than they're being used, faster than they're being turned into yarn, faster than they're being given to Love & Homes, maybe stop and like look at your buying habits, look at your acquisition habits, and tell that dragon urge in the back of your head, not this week. That's all I'm saying. Not this week. Maybe not this month. Maybe not this quarter. That's what I'm on right now. I've been doing things by quarters because month to month is hard for me. So I've been doing things by quarters. So I've been very good this year actually. I only brought home 6 fleeces. I've been very good. But I'm not buying any more yarn this quarter, and I'm not buying any more fiber this quarter. And I know this quarter is ending in a few weeks. I mean Q1 of 2024. Because the dragon urge is sometimes very loud. And it just needs to be quiet for a little bit. So maybe just giving yourself actionable goals and tinier places instead of doing like, oh, I'm not going to do a no-buy for a year. A year doesn't work for me, but I can do a no-buy for a quarter. And joining stash down challenges to keep you accountable and to help you find people who are doing a similar adventure might be helpful. Okay, thing 8 on my list. Take notes on everything. You're learning every single day, and these lessons are important. I wish I took better notes in the beginning as I was like refining my own personal spinning technique, and I was learning and I was figuring things out. Thankfully, I did not use up a lot of my beginner yarns, so I still have a lot of my beginner yarns, but I wish I took more notes on how I was spinning, on what ratio I was spinning on what draft I was using. I wish I had better notes. And I know that note taking isn't for everyone, so I'm not saying you need to make a spinner's, oh no, that did not go well. I'm not saying you need to make a spinner's control card on everything, but I think having a little notebook where you can keep notes on like when you started a spin, when you finished a spin, how many hours / days / weeks it took you to finish the spin, how did you ply it, what ratios did you use if you use a spinning wheel, and if you use an e-spinner, what settings did you use. I think having those notes to refer back to as you're learning are really important, because in the beginning you just want to change everything, and sometimes you only need to change one thing. If you're spinning something and it's not really working for you, well, instead of changing a million things, maybe just change your ratio. Leave your tension the same, leave a bunch of other things the same, but maybe just like tweak the ratio you're spinning at. But if you don't remember what you were doing, then it's very hard to make. I'm just going to draft this out a little bit and see if that makes this easier to spin, because this has not been, I'm being perfectly honest, this has not been a joyful spinning experience. I feel like I'm really struggling with this fiber, and this fiber and I I just completely pulled it apart. And this fiber and I it does not want to be friends with me. I'm really interested to see what breed this is, because whatever it is, I don't think I ever want to spin it again. There's part of me that's just like, what if this is a breed that I know well and this is just not like the best top form of it? But also sometimes spinning top is not my jam. I very much enjoy carded preps of things, and we're gonna reserve judgment until I figure out what this is. But yes, sometimes taking notes, just having a little, my friend Kirsten uses a 4x4 book she made of just cardstock that she cut down, but you can get like a little field notes book. It doesn't have to be anything too involved, anything too ornate. You don't need stickers and fun pens and everything else, but having a place to write down your notes as you're learning like if you're using a spindle, well, here's how I feel about this 21-gram spindle. Here's how I feel about this 25-gram spindle. Here's how I feel about this 17-gram spindle. Sometimes just small things like that change everything, and having a place to write that all down can be really important and really beneficial. Thing 9, you're learning from a variety of sources. Say yes to what feels good and no to what doesn't serve you, and tell the spinning police to go away. Now, I don't think the spinning police is a real thing. When I say the spinning police, there are lots of rules, and I use that term in scare quotes, for knitting, rules for spinning, rules for everything. And by rules I mean conventions. There are a lot of conventions for how you should do the thing you do that brings you joy. I knit left to right. That goes against every knitting convention that we know. A bunch of people in the beginning told me that I should learn to knit the correct way. People tell me that I knit backwards, and I don't do any of those things. I literally just knit left to right, and that is not conventional. There are a lot of spinning conventions, and some of them are useful and important, and some of them I don't think serve any purpose. We spin our singles Z and we ply S, and that is like a spinning convention. But maybe do an experiment with why we do that. Maybe spin some S singles and ply a Z twist yarn. I think crocheting yarns are better spun S and plied Z, because you untwist your yarn differently with crochet than you do with knitting. So if you're a crocheter and you're a spinner, maybe mess around with spinning your singles and plying the opposite of the way we do for knit yarns. We talk a lot about twist angles for socks and for weaving, and what fibers are good for socks and what fibers are good for weaving, and when you should use merino and when you should use nylon. All those things are spinning conventions, and the conventions exist for a reason. I'm not saying they don't exist for a reason. A lot of the conventions come out from years and years of community wisdom, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't question them. And if they're not bringing you joy and they're not serving your personal spinning practice, that doesn't mean you shouldn't throw them out the window. A lot of people talk about like woolen yarns and worsted yarns and woolen drafts and worsted drafts and what you should spin long draw and what you shouldn't. And I think anytime things come up, whenever things occur with the word should, I throw them out the window. Oh my Lord, this fiber and I are not having a good time today. Should you sample when you're spinning a sweater yarn? I feel like well, you guys know how I feel about sampling those things. But I feel like a lot of shoulds and a lot of spinning conventions, you should just experience and practice and figure out what works for you. And if it doesn't work for you and you're still making yarn, throw those conventions out the window. Some of those conventions are outdated. Some of those were designed for a different time when we had different machines and different spinners, and we're all different crafters who are learning at our own pace. And if you're beating yourself up because you heard one person who's a very good spinning teacher say one thing and it's not working for you, y'all, we're gonna take a few minutes because I'm getting a little bit testy with this fiber. Okay, we're trying again. What I was saying is there's a tendency in all crafts to make things dogmatic. A perfect example, Brenna and I did a little bit of like an informal like survey in our Discord server about which hand you draft with, because a lot of people say you should draft with your dominant hand, you should hold your fiber supply with your non-dominant hand, and we did a little bit of a survey on what hand people draft with, and there was no correlation we could come up with between drafting with your dominant hand, drafting with your non-dominant hand. Like, there was no correlation. And so when things become dogma like that, throw them out. If they're working for your personal spinning practice and you enjoy them, sure. But otherwise, throw them out. They don't matter. You're making yarn that makes you happy, and that's all that matters. And the last thing, and this is a thing I remind myself of daily, sometimes you really want to shop when what you need is sleep. Go to sleep. Don't buy that fleece. Do not buy that spindle. Do not buy a pound of top. Go to sleep. I find, and I know that this is not a unique experience, I know for sure because I talk to a lot of makers, I find that when I am the most overstimulated and when my mental health is at the poorest, that's when I start shopping. And that is how I have amassed so much stuff. And what I wish I knew was when that urge starts, I really need to just take a look at my own, and this is not related to spinning at all. This is just related to just being a human and being a maker. I need to do an inventory of how I'm feeling and what I need, and not do the shopping, because the shopping is a band-aid. It is a band-aid that ends up with you having more fleece than any one person should have in a one-bedroom apartment, more fiber than any one person should have in a one-bedroom apartment, and then it doesn't help you. You didn't learn anything. You didn't deal with the source of the thing that was keeping you awake at night. You didn't deal with the source of the thing that is having you overstimulated and underregulated. And sometimes you just got to do a little bit of self-inventory instead of buying the fiber. And again, that is not spinning related at all. I just feel like, having spoken to a lot of my friends who are experiencing a very similar thing, especially right now where things feel really hard and really heavy, we're using band-aids to deal with the ramifications of how we feel. And there's nothing wrong with using band-aids, right? Coping mechanisms are important, and it is important to have healthy coping mechanisms. But when the shopping becomes unhealthy, sometimes you just need to take a step back and reevaluate how we're feeling. And I wish I had known that, because again, I have more fleece than any person should. So those are the 10 things I wish I knew. And some of them were spinning related. Some of them were just general Tazhi related. A lot of them were just... So much of my spinning journey has been intuitive. I do learn from a variety of really, really, really talented and smart teachers. I highly recommend Rachel at Wool and Spinning. I highly recommend Evie at Jillian Eve. The School of Sweet Georgia is a great online resource. Lots of people that I've learned from have been really, really talented and really smart, and have really stepped up my spinning journey in a way that I did not think I would have learned as fast as I did. But also, a lot of this is just intuitive, and you got to figure this stuff out as you go, and you got to go at your own pace. And I know a lot of people are starting to spin right now. I don't want to say spinning is trendy, because that's silly. It's an old craft. I think a lot of people are just looking for cozy crafts, and spinning is a very tactile, cozy craft. And if you're learning to spin, and you're online, and you're seeing a bunch of other people who are also learning to spin, and you think that they're learning faster than you, everybody goes at their own pace. Give yourself some room. Give yourself some space to love the journey. Love it when it's hard. Love it when it's easy. Love it when you need a break. Love it when you're all in. And things will just fall into place. And you'll get there. You just gotta be patient with yourself, and you'll get there. Yeah, so that's it for today, y'all. I'm gonna continue wrestling with this fiber that is not bringing me joy at all. Nothing about this experience is bringing me joy. I'm thinking for the next time I spin this, I know I like to open it live, but I'm wondering if I should open it in advance and run it through my Diz to align the fibers better, because it's very splitty, and the staple length is... What is the staple length on this? Yeah, the staple length is so short. It is so short stapled that it's not really working for the way I want to spin it. I probably should just spin it short forward. But I'm just really worried about putting too much twist in this. And I like spinning it continuous back to keep some air and some loft in the yarn. But I think next time, as much as I like to open them live, I'm probably going to open it in advance and Diz it first to kind of align it and make it an easier prep to spin. Because otherwise, I'm just going to have another day of frustrating spinning. But that's it for today. I will see you guys for, I think, a vlog. And then... for another day of spinning? I don't know. I'm not making any promises. I'll see y'all when I see you. I love you. Go make something what is this? What is the sign off? Go make something fun today. See you guys around.